I'm like, don't get me gifts. And they're like, well, okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then when I get their gift, I tell them straight out, like, I didn't really like it. I'm sorry, like I just don't like it.
No, look, I agree with you. I think that's just a thing that I don't know. It's a programming.
My GPS said it'd be an hour to get here.
Right.
I left at like 12:50. I just got here when I did.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like, my GPS kept saying it was like crashes, right? And I was like, okay, damn, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, it's raining, but I would imagine people are used to driving in this weather by now.
Right.
Like,
you live near Chicago, right?
no, I live in Gilbert, so it's west of Elgin and like.
Okay, so
like,
north. Yeah, like northwest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then that is a pretty long shot. Did you take the expressway here?
Yeah.
And that still took you that long? That's wild. Yeah, no, it must be pretty bad then because of the rain, I guess. But whatever.
I enjoy my drives though. I like listen to podcasts and stuff like that. And
hey,
it's like the only time I allow myself to really do it.
well, because that's the only time it makes sense. Like I just went to Iowa last week. And so I was out there for about a week, and the drive there is about 5 hours. So from here to Iowa is 5 hours, and then I had to do Nebraska in the middle of the week. So I went Iowa, and then halfway through the week.
Was that for work?
That was for work, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So halfway through the week, I was in Iowa for like 2 days, and then the third day I was in Nebraska, and then the fourth day I came back to Iowa. And so the drives there are really long, so I'll listen. I like ran out of things to listen to. When you're driving for 5-6 hours, I start running out of things to listen to because all the newer episodes I've already caught up on. Because think about it, a podcast, let's say it's a pretty popular one. They typically last 2 to 3 hours. And so then, so I listen to one episode of the more recent ones. And then let's say, for example, I'm not all that interested in other guests that they've had. So I'm just like, I'll skip this one. I'll skip this one. And this one seems interesting.
I mean, do you put on documentaries too?
I put on documentaries.
Yeah, so that's like me, like podcast documentaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's 100% what I do because it's like, okay, documentaries take long enough to like, you hear a whole story, just like how you would on podcasts. You listen to a whole story. There's a beginning, middle, and end. And so you kind of get to like, I don't know, be entertained while you drive for that long. Because 5 hours, I mean, it's easy to start dozing off. It's easy to start getting tired after having driver's fatigue, or if that's a thing, I don't know. But I feel like after a certain amount of focus on the road starts to make me tired after a while, even though I love driving.
That's the same thing for me.
Like, I get fatigue from just focusing on the road, that I need the something in the background to keep me from like dozing off, because I'll start to doze off after a few hours.
For me, it's a lot of coffee. Like if you go to my car, there's always like a lot of Panera coffee comes, because I'll probably be driving like half an hour and then I'm like, damn, I'm fucking exhausted.
That's right. You go to Panera a lot. I forgot about that. Why is it just is it better coffee at Panera?
No, it's just the cheapest. They have like the $10, a month you pay.
So you don't care too much about the quality of your coffee?
No, because I always drink it black, and I feel like
you're a psychopath. Why do you drink it black?
I really do like the taste of it.
Okay, so then all right, so then it's not just the caffeine, because that's why if I would drink. First of all, I can't drink coffee because the caffeine, like I just crash every time I have it. I'll get jittery when I drink it, and then after the fact I'll crash. So there's no real benefit for me. It's like
I've never experienced a crash. Although
good for you.
I don't know if there's like an amount of cups you're supposed to drink. I drink like 4 to 6 a day.
4 to 6 a day.
Yeah,
that'll happen for me. Yeah, man, you got accustomed to that, because I can't drink more than one.
Well, it started when I worked at United. Like it was like a fun Keurig thing we did. Like it was the first time I was like working with like peers at the workplace. Before it was always like I'm reporting to like a supervisor, but like when you hang out with your peers, you're kind of like joking about and like talking about random things I wouldn't talk to like my supervisor about, because I think he's only wants to know about my technical abilities.
Right.
I can't have like, oh, I did this on the weekend that I probably shouldn't be telling you about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, there's like a professional relationship to be had with your manager, and like I've been on both sides of the table. I've been a manager before. I've been under a manager, and so I guess it also depends on the type of manager you have, because some of them are more laid back like that, and those are the ones that are my favorite typically anyway, because if I'm able to have like a human conversation with you, and like, yes, there are rules, and yes, you want to not be inappropriate with technicians. Like, you don't want to be hanging out with them. For example, that's like a line. That is definitely a line. Like, I would draw that line for sure. Like fraternization, right, in the Marine Corps. I believe that's a thing too in any other job.
Everywhere.
Fraternization is a thing. Yeah. So you want to?
I like that line from the internship where he's like, "What about love?" He's like, "So we say no to love."
Yeah. No. Look, there are rules, and so you want to have some form of a structure, right? When you have people under you, and you're in charge of people, there is a need to have some form of a basic rule set, like boundaries, right? Like, okay, the reason why we don't want to hang out with our employees is because we don't want to create the idea that like an unfair treatment, right? So like favoritism is a thing I've encountered too in the workspace, where it's like, okay, I know you hang out with this technician outside of work, or this employee outside of work. I've seen that.
Really?
And managers that do that they hang out with the employees that they know outside of work, and it's noticeable because you spend more time with them, and it just seems like you have a favoritism, and you want to avoid that, because if you have a favorite, you're going to start to see them in an unfair way. Like, you're going to favoritize them. So even if they do something wrong, you'll want to justify, oh, well, they did it because A, B, and C, and because you want to protect them because they're your friend, right?
Yeah, I get that.
And
although it's like,
yeah,
because in the workplace, I mean, you work with a bunch of people. Some of them you like, some of them you don't like.
Exactly.
Right? And it's like, well, if this guy's so fucking like jittery around me, how can I teach him anything? You know? Or like, how can I learn from someone if I'm like so like, I need to be so professional around you. I don't want to say something stupid.
No, for sure.
You know?
I do believe that there are those type of managers that are by the book, I feel are the least approachable of any managers, because how can I trust you if you won't be a human around me?
Right.
And so that's the one thing that I've tried to, while I've been on both sides, I try to understand. And I also, when I've been on the manager side, I've tried to balance that like the interactions with them, where I am there for them. I'm there to take care of them. But I can't hang out with you. Like, that's the line. Like, I cannot hang out with you.
You know what's also funny about that is that, like, when at a young age, right, you're told like you gotta excel in the workplace. You know, you put a lot of time into it, and then people are kind of like depressed later because like, I don't have many friends. I don't go out very much. The only people I talk to are the ones I work with. But it's like, those could be your friends, right? Like, but it sucks because it's like there's that built separation of like my friendships outside that I can't happen in the workplace, you know? And I definitely had that happen in some instances where I was like, yo, I'd really like to hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
I was like, out in Chicago with one of my friends, right? And I was like, okay, well, this guy from work, I know he's from Chicago. I know he's around the area. We're not doing anything like too crazy. We're just going to see a show or something like that.
Sure.
And I was like, I have his number. You know, I could just text him like, yeah, it'd be cool to hang out with him, you know, outside. But it's like, I'm just not used to that yet.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's definitely something I like to break out of though.
Are you talking about like coworkers or
overall,
with man?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So with coworkers, like obviously that's okay. The only challenge I've seen is where you go from having coworkers to being their boss. And so one of the questions that I was asked when I was hired as a manager was, how would you handle, let's say for example, a coworker that you knew very well and that you were good friends with, and then now you're his boss and he's not performing well. How do you handle that conversation? And so it is a challenging question, because it's like you've been buddies for all this time, and you have to sit him down and be like, hey, you're not performing well. Like, what's going on with that? And sometimes it's easy for the person, the employee that you're questioning, for them to feel attacked by you, to feel betrayed by you, because it's like, you're my friend. And it's almost like that's why that line is so important, because then when you become their boss, you have to be able to separate the two. Like we can be friends, we can be friendly outside of work, right? Like we can still talk and all that. But if we're, let's say for example, if we're good buddies as coworkers and now I'm your boss, there is a line. At work, we can't do that. Like at work, you can't bring in our friendship in here, because you're going to jeopardize your job and mine. And we both need the money. So there has to be that agreement too. And I do think that defines the quality of friends that you have, right? Because you would think that good friends would understand that line, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Like a bad friend.
I've only ever had like one friend who was like a manager, and that was only because like he got me the job like when I was younger, like 18 years old.
Sure.
And like he became like a manager by the time we were like 20.
Yep.
And it wasn't that I wasn't performing well, but I was having trouble with like managers, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder or something like that, but I just remember I was like, you're asking for my ideas. I'm being honest about my ideas. And yeah, I definitely did not go about the right way to express my ideas, because I was like, oh, I think that's just so dumb though. And it was like in front of people, and like if they push back, like I push back without realizing that like, oh shit, I'm probably stepping over a line here. Like I'm probably making this person seem pretty bad in front of everybody else. And then like my friend would have to like come to me right after. He's like, yeah man, need a
like relax. But what is it that you feel you have a chip of your shoulder on? Is it that you think that your ideas aren't heard?
No, I think the reason why at that time I felt like I had a chip on my shoulders because like everything went so well, and my friend was the manager, you know, and then like this was like right after I got back from Marine Corps training, and I went back to being a swim instructor, you know, and it's not like I felt like that made me better, but it was like the confidence I gained from that was just like, okay, yeah, these guys are asking for my ideas. I'm giving you my ideas right now, you know. And
so what was it that? So was it you giving your ideas that was stepping over the line, like you telling them what you think?
It was more so the fact that I told them that like I don't really think I like your idea, and I probably didn't say it in the best way.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you this, and we talked about this last time. Last time you and I talked, when I came back from boot camp, I had an ego boost, no doubt about it. I came back and thought, yeah, I'm pretty good at the things that I do. Like that's how I saw things, and a lot of times I would compare myself to like a lot of people, be like, yeah, I could probably do that better, and I would say that in my mind, and it would show up when other people would give me their ideas, and I'd be like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, and I'm like, we're gonna do this, and so then it comes off as cocky, which it is, and I think that, you know, the thing that humbles you is doing the thing over and over again, where you climb the ladder and then you're bottom again. You climb the ladder and then you're bottom again, because you're at the bottom of somewhere for someone at some point. And when you do that enough times, you start to realize, like, dude, I'm just another human being like anybody else. Like at the end of the day, I'm not like somebody's above me at some point. Like,
yeah, I probably just haven't gotten there. Like, I've jumped around from job to job a lot, right? Just because like, okay, I've been here a couple months. The growth here probably won't happen from other people I'm talking to. Like they're saying like, okay, well, there's no positions for this, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm still in the beginning of my career. Like there's other things to try. There's other industries I'd like to experience in the IT world. So like I went from like working at an MSP originally, then the education system, then the airport, then back as another MSP, and now I'm at another one again.
Can you explain what that is? What's MSP?
Yeah, a managed service provider. Okay. So like, basically like if you don't have like, I mean, it's not just because you don't, but like a lot of companies, they don't have like their own internal IT department, you know, so they'll outsource it to other people.
Okay.
So your managed service provider will kind of take over whatever you want them to take over. And for the most part, like it's based off like what you're willing to let them do. And it's like, there's different levels to it. Like, okay, we just want you to monitor our networks. Okay, monitor our servers. Okay, actually, we want you to take over as the entire IT department. Okay, yeah, well, we'll do whatever hits that beforehand.
Right.
Know? And yeah, since I was always like switching around a lot, and I never really stayed anywhere to go up the ladder, because I was like, oh, that seems like it's gonna be so fucking long before I do.
So what is it that ultimately makes you leave? Something has to make you leave. Is it just that?
Well, I think it's just what happens when you're like at a level 1 position, because like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, from like, okay, as a level 1 tech, you'll probably just be doing like a lot of password resets. You'll be the first call that people give, but then like if you can't solve it, you escalate it, right? Pretty much is like I would imagine
similar.
So similar to like to that degree. But even then, it's like I've been places where like, okay, well, if that has something to do with their email accounts, let internally they'll solve it themselves.
That's right.
Like, okay, I mean I would like to do more Microsoft related things. I like to do more Azure related things. I like to do more of these higher echelon things, and you know that's not going to happen here. Well, I see this other position might happen, and it looks like it is a pay raise. You know, so I was like, okay, I mean, I'm still young. I can jump around.
Okay. So then how many times have you done that?
I'm on my 6th IT job.
Okay. So do you see yourself saying, you know what, I'm going to try and stick it out and see if I can climb?
Yeah. So this is like the first one that actually happened where I stuck around for longer than a year. The other ones I was like there for like 6
months,
6, 7.
Yeah.
You know, and here I've been here for about a year and 4 months. The company I work for is Icon Software Inc.
Okay.
Managed service provider again. And again, just like I was explaining with the levels, you know, we cater to whatever they want us to do. Some we do manage their full IT networks. Other ones, you know, just certain things that we do for them. And here I just haven't hit the what's the word? The I guess ceiling yet to the things that I can and can't do.
Okay.
My boss is always like, yeah, if you want to do that, go right ahead. Whereas like other ones like, let's have a more trained experience or like, oh, that's just not your role. Like you wouldn't do that here.
So it's more loose here. They
allow me to do everything, like everything that I would want to do, you know? So
cool.
Yeah.
So you like it better?
Yeah.
Okay. And then have you had a conversation like with your boss? Because after a year, I think it's a good amount. It's a good time to sit back and be like, all right, cool. Have I learned what I needed to learn for this position? Because that's when I would start asking questions.
Yeah. So he's honestly had that conversation a lot because like
Really?
I hang out with my supervisor a lot, like for work. Like we'll go to different customer sites,
Sure.
we'll do things together, and I get his opinion on a lot of things. Like one thing I would like to do is travel. You know,
Okay.
I like to be on a contract. Like, okay, here's a contract in Germany or China or whatever. You know, we need you to do X, Y, Z for us. You know,
Yep.
like those would be awesome. And he kind of gave me his input on that. That kind of steered me away. He's like, well, I know people who done it, and you know, the thing that gets them is like the family part when they're so far away, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, I was ready to deploy.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, okay, I don't mind being gone for like 6-9 months, and you know, if I find a chance to fly back home for a little bit, see my daughter, you know, I'll do that and then go back to my contract.
But it's your thing anyway. Like you like to travel places, right?
Yeah. So I just got back from vacation like 2 weeks ago from Disney, and I was telling my mom like, I don't want to do this every year. Like,
Really?
No, I'm like, we do this. This is like my 4th time going, and I'm just like, why don't we go somewhere else? You know, like it's a big world out there.
What what was your experience like there? What turned you off from it?
Again, I think it's just because I've been there like 4 times now.
Oh, just
you know, like,
you just seen everything already.
I feel like I've done most of it for the most part, and I would go back because my daughter really likes it, and it was kind of sad when we were leaving because the last day I was like, okay, we're going back home. When you know, she was like, started crying. He was like, "What is that?"
So you had to deal with the sadness of it. Oh.
Yeah, even when we got back home, she was like kind of upset about it. I was like, I want to go back.
Well, so there's other places you can go. I mean, there's there's one in Illinois too, the SeaWorld or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet, but I would most part like for family vacation, I would like to go. You know, maybe a different country would be cool.
Oh, okay.
Because for that trip, each person spent about $1,000, and we were gone for like 5 days.
Okay.
And that's because we paid for like the bundle for the hotel, the food, and everything. You know, it was really great. Although, like, dude, for me, I was dying the entire time.
What do you mean? Like you were out all day?
I was like exhausted.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's like the miles that you have to walk, and then like every single line I'm at, my daughter wants to be carried, so I'm carrying her for like 30, 45 minutes, an hour straight, like till we get to the end of the line, get on the ride.
Right.
And then we finally go put her back in the stroller, and I got to walk even more. I'm carrying my water, carrying all the food.
So who are you with in the trip? Is it just you and your daughter?
No, my immediate family, like my sisters, my brothers, my siblings, and my nieces and nephews and stuff like that.
Okay, so you guys went as a group, which is gonna rack up. How do you guys split the money? Does everybody pay for themselves?
Yeah, you pay for yourself. Whatever your ticket is, you know, that's what you
I got you.
So
that makes sense. Well, I'm glad that you do it that way because I know there are families that like there's a person that takes care of that. Like and typically it's the father or the son, the oldest son or something.
Well, I just don't want to get stuck with the planning portion.
That's right.
I talked to my CEO about it a lot. It's like, yeah, you know, I think going out, like, because he always mentioned, like, yeah, we should go out, like, you know, as a company thing, you know, and I was like, yeah, that'd be great. You know, he's like, I just suck at planning for this. He says it too. I'm like, no, I get it. Like, planning, even small occasions with friends is a bitch. You know?
I don't know that you suck. Being that you suck at it is the problem. I just think you just don't enjoy it.
Yeah,
and so you have to like doing that. Well, you don't have to. That's not true. But in order for you to have the motivation to do it and to sit down and like, okay, we're gonna to have everything planned out well, you have to kind of like it. Like it has to be like a thing you like to do. Like I want to just take care of it, or maybe you just get anxiety of like I have to get it over with, or I won't sleep.
Well, like so
that too.
Like for Sinister's bachelor party, like
Yeah.
you know, me and Scott, we he planned one day, I planned a second day. Well, then my day had to get canceled because like they said there was going to storm, and like you know, I was thinking like we go on the boat, Fox Lake, you know, fish and stuff like that, and you can water ski there too, and it was fucking. I enjoyed it. I was like, damn, there's a lot of cool things. Like, here's something I'm gonna do myself after this, like in the summer. But it's just a lot of headaches.
Well, here's the thing too, right? Like stuff like that, outdoors plans do depend on the weather.
Yeah.
And so like you could plan a year ahead, and then the year goes by and you get there, everything's all planned out, but then it like pours. So you'll have to maybe you could bring maybe if you still want to do it in the rain, which most people any outdoor activity worth doing, if it's in the rain, like it kind of ruins it. Like at that point, do something else. So that's the one downside of planning things is you could have everything planned out perfectly, but then
day of
the weather just takes a shit and then you're stuck. So that's the downside of being a planner is that you can't plan the weather. Like you could plan for everything else, but you can't plan for the weather. And if it's dependent on the weather, then you're kind of you can't plan super far ahead at that point. You have to be like maybe a week out so you can get the.
Yeah, so like for me, like when I plan things to do with my friends and stuff like that, or if like we want to get together for something, I have like 5, 6, 7 different things bookmarked in case like things don't fall through. Because I know the day up, people would be like, oh, dude, I just don't want to sweat. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Okay. I was like, oh, I'm just so beat, bro.
Well, to be fair, right? And so this is so people that don't know what happened. So, by the way, this is kind of it's all connected to the wedding because season 4 is started with the wedding and the events of that. So for people who don't know, we had a plan. One of the Marines, Scott, he planned out the paintball outing that we did. Which, by the way, I wasn't super like excited to get hit with paintballs, to be honest, but it was more fun than I was expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I was having anxiety. I was like, oh God, I don't want to look like a bitch.
I still have on my chest and on my back the marks.
Really? Oh,
I still have them. Yeah. And so I was like more like, I just feel like if I'm 28 now, if you hit me in the knee, dude, like it's over. Like I don't think I'm going to recover from that. And so I was thinking more about that. I'm like, God, I don't. And then we have to run and like, all this activity we're going to have to do. Like, what if I hurt myself? That's what I was thinking in my head. But I'm like, you know what? I've never paintballed before. I've never had the experience. I'll do it. It'll suck probably. And then after that, I'll think about it and be like, you know what? Either it was a fun time or it wasn't, but at least we got we got to hang out together. And that was the main thing for me was, hey, we get to hang out. However it happens, it's fine. I'll live, right? Hopefully. and it was fun. Like I liked it. It hurt more than I was expecting it to be honest. I don't know how it felt for you, but
until you saw my arm, it was like all over.
And then I felt bad for you because you guys had the one-on-ones where you guys had to just shoot each other.
I guess you guys the fucking worst volcano. Like,
yeah.
I guess for everyone who doesn't know, like we did like an Iron Man where it's like you're just shooting the other person.
Yes.
Straight, whoever
quits first is a loser. And so you guys are literally the distance from each other is maybe like 10 feet from each other.
Yeah.
And just as soon as they say go, you just start shooting at each other. And it was just like the amount of hits that I was hearing, like it just sounds painful the way they explode. Because I used to think that it was like, I used to think the casing was probably like pliable, like it was very soft, but it's not. It's plastic.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's a hard plastic.
I always assume like if you just drop it, the thing explodes or something like that.
I thought it was like a water balloon type material on the outside, and I thought they were going to be like spongy, but they weren't. It's hard plastic, so when it hits you, what is it? Do you know the speed of those things? They're like, no. I don't know. I don't know how fast they shoot, but they shoot at least 600 feet per second. Like it has to be around that.
And before we did, I just made sure to get like padding and stuff like that. Not everything came in.
You came very prepared, and even then, you said it was still you could still feel it.
Like my gloves didn't come in, like some like, other body part, like some knee pads and stuff didn't come in, so I just used the ones I used for rollerblading.
And that's how inexperienced I am. I did no research. I just showed up. In a shirt and pants I didn't really care for, and then you're like all this gear, you're like putting on pads, and I'm like, well, how bad is it? Like, that's when I started asking questions. Like, if you have to wear padding, like, is that like? I was like, is that standard? Are you supposed to wear padding? Because I'm unprepared for this. And then I'm seeing you're putting on 2 layers of pants and a hoodie.
Well, dude, what's insane is like you see kids out there like younger than us, like in high school, like tank tops. I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah, no.
Am I just that much of a bitch?
Yeah. No, you weren't made for that. That's the thing. When I saw you wearing all that stuff, I just thought that you had more experience, and so you knew like that you have to have those things in order for you to not get hurt. And so it made me rethink about it. I was like, is this a good idea? And then I was like, whatever, it's planned. I want to have some time with you guys, so let's do it. And then it was fine. Like it hurt more than I thought, but once I got over that, like whatever, I'm gonna get hit. Once you get over that, that idea of like I'm gonna get hit, like it somehow becomes like easier to manage.
And I felt like so it was like my first time too, right? But the only like things I've seen was like in movies and TV shows, is like if someone goes down, they're still shooting that guy. But I was kind of expecting that, where it's like, damn, motherfucker, stop shooting me.
No, and so that's the cool part is that it was just us.
Yeah.
Had it been another group of people that like are cheaters, and because I've seen people do that where they get hit and they don't say they're out, or they keep shooting after you're hit. That was mostly what I was worried about. So when I noticed it was just going to be us, I'm like, okay, we're old enough where none of us are going to be immature about it. Yeah. And if somebody gets hit, they get hit. If somebody notices that you hit somebody else, you're not going to keep shooting them when they say hit. So that kind of was a relief, where it's like, okay, it's just our party. So it made it more fun. But I saw how the other kids were running around and like jumping into things. Yeah, that was pretty insane. I was like, yeah, not us, dude. Like, we would have gotten schooled.
I'm fine with camping just back here.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we all did, because nobody wanted to get hit. And there were I'm surprised the distance those things go, because we did the towers. I was up on the tower, and we have like, the field was big enough where it was like I wouldn't say like half of a football field away, but it was like pretty far. And they shot from down below up, hit the window, and like it exploded on the mask. And I was like, dude, this still hits with a lot of force from back there. So that's what I'm saying. It has to be around like 600 feet per second at least for those paintballs to be able to make it that far and hit with that impact. But anyway, so that was fun. We did that. And then you planned the thing with the skiing or the...
Yeah, it was supposed to be in like Fox Lake. We got a boat and we were going to go fishing and stuff like that. But, said it was going to thunderstorm. And thank God the guy gave me my refund back, because it was like $1,400.
To be fair, here's my criticism of that situation. We didn't have details until like 2 days prior.
Yeah.
and so that's the one thing where it's like, it needs to be far enough. Like I need at least a week or two.
Well, I was working off that like I asked Scott like for information too, and he was like, okay, well, everyone said they're down for both days.
Yep.
Everyone says they're down for whatever. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, I figured a boat split between like 14 of us originally. Mm-hmm. It's like what, $100 each person, and you get to do all these different things for like the entire day. But then when people started saying like, oh, I can't make it for the second day, or like, I can't do this, and I was like, okay, whatever, still not too bad. And then like my sister's actually the one who brought it up. Is like, it's supposed to like be like a thunderstorm like this weekend. Yep. I was like, no fucking way.
Right. And so then that threw a damper in it, and that's why a lot of people were like, nah, I don't want to do it, because no one wants to be fishing in the rain.
Although we did the Clue mystery hunt in Chicago. That was actually really fun, though. Like,
that was the day that you guys still did something after, right?
So that's what we chose to do. I found it on Groupon, and we were just looking at random things, and it was like using like your mind to like figure out some clues. You get to walk around Chicago for a few miles, and then you get to you know, if you have a thermos, you need to drink around Chicago the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, no, so like, you know, we were calling this detective juice the entire time. Like,
I heard the
we're like
joke
speaking with accents and shit like that. You know, we're calling each other detective. You know, let the detective damn these balls. Detective.
Yeah. I overheard that on the wedding. I was like, what are you guys talking about? I was like, what's wrong with you? Did I miss something? And so there you go. I missed that. So then, okay, so you guys did that, and so then let me ask you, because I haven't had a chance to even at the wedding, like. One of the things we talked about last time was you're like, oh, I want to wait. You're like, I want to wait till I get something. I forget if a promotion you were looking for. You're like, before I come back on, I wanna, there's something I want to do. I don't know if it was like you were trying to be a manager or what it was that you said.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch my video.
Yeah, right. But you said something about like, give me another. I was like in a year, you know, we'll have you back on, and you're like something to the effect of, no, you know, in that time, I want to get management role or something you wanted to do with your job, like you wanted to progress. But anyway, what have you done? The point is, what have you done in the last year? You said you moved from another job to this one. It's been about a year now, right?
Well, no, so last time I think what it was is like I was starting a new job at the same time, you know. So I wanted to give it time to see where it went, and I'm happy with where it went because like I was saying before, like when you're a level 1, maybe like a level 2 too, you're kind of set with the same things you do, and especially in a network that's already established, there's not many changes you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's probably like, okay, give someone a permission for this, but I wanted to like change processes, you know, like this is what we're doing now, we kind of need to change it to do this, or like I wanted to work more with servers too, like okay, you know, in that regard. And you know, here I got to do that. You know, I got to like actually stand up servers, what it's called, you know, but like, you know, set up new servers or migrate these processes over. We're looking into like let's say someone comes in and is like, okay, we need these users to be like, I can't even give like a good example right now, because like part of it too is like I don't want to divulge too much what's going on, because like my boss honestly opened my mind to like the business world of IT.
Security reasons. I got you.
You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you may not think it's that big a deal, but like we can't just tell.
Well, don't tell processes. That's fine. Don't go over processes. But what I mean is like what if you had to kind of sketch out like what the goal is for you, what is it? Like just an example, just a oversight.
Well, for right now, my goal is to move into the cloud, you know, because like there's people like doing security stuff like that, and I feel like I got enough experience in these different areas of IT, you know, to like where I worked in, things like my boss showed me, and I haven't had to do much cloud, you know, so I'm learning that right now, trying to get my search for that. I mean, I purchased like my own tenants, you know, I do my own little home lab where I test things out, and I enjoy it for the most part. I'm glad I do, because like I feel like when I talk to certain people, they're like, yeah, no, I have like a deep, like, I'm blanking on the word, but like aspiration for what I do, you know, and I felt like I was kind of missing that, because I was just kind of going through the motions, because, you know, originally my goal was to be in the psych world, you know, IT was just
that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's what you said you wanted to do too.
Yeah, you know.
And so then what's keeping you here?
You know, money.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, it's just working money, because like if I had gone the psych route, you know, I'd probably still be going for my degree right now. I probably wouldn't have much money. You know, if I be working, not that there's anything bad in like these kinds of roles, but it's like, you know, I had a daughter at a young age. I really don't want to make her stop doing some of the things I have her in. You know, I don't want her to stop doing certain activities I have her do. You know, I wouldn't want to struggle paying for daycare. I wouldn't want to struggle paying for all these different things, you know.
Do you think that you could knock out, is it possible for you to knock out a degree while you're working here, or no?
Yeah, I think so. That was like something else I talked about my boss with, because he's like, you know, you'll find techs who are like fine with what they do. You know, they're fine with like the day-to-day operations, you know, things like that. And that's totally fine. You know, it's whatever you want to do. But like, as I get further and further, you know, and like my boss puts me in charge of certain projects, or in charge of like researching certain software to things to use, I start to enjoy it a lot more. You know, like I feel like that was kind of missing back in the day, where it's like, we don't really need you to look further in depth than what you just know now, you know. And,
Okay.
but they'll encourage, like, you know, like, yeah, you should go out and, like, you know, maybe to get a degree, maybe get a cert. But it's like I like the things I'm doing now change our work environment, or like I add value to what I'm doing for work, you know.
So you feel do you feel you have purpose in what you're doing? Is it a fulfilling job for you?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely like the problem solving. It's always there, and it's like always a bitch.
That's a thing. That's a thing for me. That's why I like being a tech, is because I like fixing broken things. That's primarily what I enjoy about the tech world, is that somebody has a problem with something, and then you go and you're the matter expert. So you go and you're the guy who saves the day, right? Like, at least that's your job. And so like I go into situations where I also do inspections, like regular maintenance, so it's not always like catastrophes that you have to save, but it's sometimes it's let's say, for example, something breaks down, like a bike or something, like a treadmill, something they use very often, and it's like we can't treat patients at full capacity if we don't have these pieces of equipment up. And so I repair equipment, exercise equipment at physical therapy clinics, and I inspect them too. So this might be the difference between the clinic being able to perform how it's supposed to perform, or it having to close down. Like sometimes, it's not going to close down most likely, but it is going to be a thing of like, they're going to lose some business and an ability to do certain things until they get a new one, or we fix it. And it's always faster to fix it than to ask for a new one. For most clinics, when they look at annual budgets, they don't want to spend money on a brand new one.
Yeah, that business part of stuff, that's kind of shit I hate, really. Like, because it's like, we could do this, but it needs money. I was like, fuck, dude. Like, that. And that was like another thing that opened my eyes too, because like, you don't really think about them. You just assume like, dude, they have like all this money. They'll definitely say yes to anything. But it's like, I'm sorry, this is like a couple $1,000s. We're fine with where we're at. Let's just stay.
Right. And that's what a lot of times, and that's the frustrating part for me too, like as a technician that inspects equipment for safety. Sometimes, obviously, you can't make clinics do anything. Like, you can just recommend, and then if they decide they want to go a different route, that's up to them. It's at their discretion. So I mean,
in that regard though, because like for us, in terms of like security, there is like they got to pay for their security insurance and stuff like that. They have to meet certain compliances. Is it like that too when you fix the equipment? Like, sorry, this isn't like meeting certain legal standards or something like that. You need this, like.
So we kind of are like an insurance policy for the clinics, in that, let's say they accept money. If they accept payment from like Medicare, like, because a lot of patients that go there are covered by Medicare or some other insurance company, they're going to audit if anything ever, not even if something happens, but every so often. I don't know the time frame in which they do it. I believe it's sometime, at least once within 10 years. I could be wrong, but they don't do it every year. I know that. But every once in a while, they'll do an audit to make sure that all of the equipment has been inspected annually, because most of the manufacturers, they require that their equipment be inspected annually. And it says that in the manuals that that in order. So basically, it is their safety net. If something goes wrong, if their equipment malfunctions and it hurts a patient, then they can. If somebody files a lawsuit towards them, they can be like, well, was it inspected annually like we recommended? And so then they're going to look at us, right? We inspect things. And so then they're going to be like, okay, did you inspect it? And so if we inspected it, and in our notes, we said, we don't recommend you use this. It is a safety issue. Well, then we can't say things like it'll kill you. Like, we can't say those words because we don't know that. What we can say is that it's not. It's a safety concern. Okay. It's a safety concern.
Yeah,
right?
we have that too, and where like companies will be like, okay, we brought this to your attention. You just sign this just so that you're
exactly
aware.
Yep,
yeah.
It's exactly how it is too for us. Is we can recommend things like, hey, so the manufacturer, in order for this to be safe to use, the manufacturer recommends that it is at this standard. So let's say it's missing a safety, like an emergency stop, like it's missing a magnet or it's missing a clip or something that the manufacturer recommends it has for it to be up to safety standards. Then if it's missing that or it's broken, then I have to make the recommendation that you don't use it until it's either repaired or replaced. And repair is almost always cheaper unless it's outdated, which is where it gets tricky, because when a lot of equipment's outdated and they no longer manufacture the parts for the repairs, you have to replace it. And a lot of clinics don't want to do that because that's annual. That's an annual budget thing. And so I'll recommend it. I'll be like, hey, I recommend you don't use this just out of a safety concern because it's not operating as the manufacturer intended. And so we want to make sure that we cover ourselves. And then also, technically, it's also for the good of the clinic and the patients too, because it's for safety. Safety is the most important part of any operating business that treats patients. Safety is number one. That's why we have these audits. That's why they have audits, because they want to make sure that everything is up to safety standards. And it does have to do with money at the end of the day. So what I found out was that actually this field, this like the medical equipment technician field, specifically for physical therapy clinics, is underserved. So what I believe is going to happen is the standards are going to start to get more and more, they're going to get higher and higher. And so the education is probably going to start to be necessary more and more for the clinician, for all the clinicians that work there, to understand that there are certain risks that the clinics cannot take. And just for the business and in general for the safety, there are certain risks that you shouldn't take. And the problem with it is that the reason why the company that I work for has gotten so much work, so many contracts from so many different physical therapy clinics across the country is because it's so underserved. Like there hasn't been enough safety standard, or there hasn't been a high enough like work quality for that side.
You mean like just they can't find employees for
there isn't enough. There isn't enough educated technicians. There isn't enough. There isn't a company that can handle the workload of ordering parts, making sure that we have a relationship with manufacturers, and being able to handle things fast enough for the clinics to get back up and running. And so when I was running into companies that used to do it, they used to do that work that we got the contract for, it was easy to tell why they had picked the company that I worked for, because they would complain a lot about how it's just we would have technicians out here and it would take forever to do the repairs. And they can't be out for a long time without repairs. And I just think that it's very difficult to get into because not every clinic operates the same way. So for example, ATIs, Athleticos, and they operate different. They have different structures. Right. And so you have to comply to each structure. So you have to understand how each business works and how you have to communicate with them, who approves what. Like it's a complete, they don't follow one process.
I would imagine you probably get to the point where like a lot of them be like, yeah, just busted by a new one. But like, I feel like it's almost kind of like there's like this videos I've seen before of like handymen who would come in to fix like HVAC units, to fix drain pipes or whatever. And then they're like, well, we put hidden videos of you're not doing jack shit. And, like
it got commercialized. And so it got the standards starting to get like the inspection standards started to go up. And so let me give you an example. When I used to work at Dish, we had quality assurance managers that would come out and inspect technicians' works, so that the managers would go and visit technicians. And so there was more visibility than there is in this field. It's still too new. Like there isn't enough companies that have made it nationally. It used to be a bunch of small companies that would handle it locally. And so the rules were very like open, like there wasn't different companies operated differently. And then you had the therapy clinics, they operate in a very different way from one another. So they don't all follow this one standard that will help just commercialize this business, if that makes any sense. Okay. So it's just they all operate a very different way. And so it's like speaking a different language with each company of like, how do you do things? And who do we communicate to for replacing parts and doing repairs? And so a lot of them just they operate very differently from each other. So you have to learn how each business operates so that you can help them well enough. Because if you don't do your homework and you don't learn how they operate, then you run into the issue of like, well, we did send a request for repair, but nobody ever approved it. It's like, but the managers don't do that. You send that to corporate. Like ATI is very corporate based. So there aren't managers that approve repairs there. At Athleticos you do. At Athleticals, you have a center manager that approves repairs. So it's like, who am I supposed to send who's supposed to know what? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
who's,
totally get
who's
that.
supposed to know what?
But I feel like it's like that in like any kind of like service industry to a degree, because it's like, what was it, like the concept of big corporate, having like so much standing in certain fields, scares people, and like, it's nice to have like, these smaller corporations or like smaller businesses that handle that, increase, just little jobs that people can get, stuff like that.
And that works for small mom and pop shops. That works for small clinics that just feel better. Just, hey, this is a local company. They know how to get all the stuff we need. But then what happens when the companies expand? What happens when you have commercialized, it becomes public? Like it's not a private business anymore. It becomes public and it's owned by like a corporation. And that's what has really made it easy for my company to come in and take all the work, because it's national. Like
maybe swallow some other smaller.
That's basically what has happened, is so that basically we've just absorbed the clinics that used to be operated by other smaller companies that just couldn't handle the national call to do all the work. And so, in fact, this company that I work for was also local at one point, and then was like, okay, we see that there are a lot of these clinics are underserved a lot. And so what if we do it national? Because there aren't many companies that do this nationally. So if we can handle it nationally, then this is an untapped market essentially. Right. And so that's where that happened. The expansion happened across the country.
I can't even imagine being like that guy who kind of like put that into fruition, just because like even now when my boss talks about like business dealings, marketing, and like reaching out to new customers, I'm just like, God, I hate this part of the job so much. Like, it definitely takes a...
Well, the business side, I used to hate business side of things. Like it used to be a thing where I was like, I just want to help people. Like I just want to solve the problems, and I don't want to deal with like how does this affect profit? But I had to learn it. Like I told you when I was a manager at Dish, was how actions affect profit and how it does affect everybody. And so because it does affect everybody and I want to help people, how can I help people if I don't understand what keeps the business afloat? And right. So that's why I started to be more interested in the business side of things. And so I started paying more attention to, okay, so for example, how does productivity affect profitability? How do delays affect profitability? And so like, that's why it's super important that's why I tell you that it's very important for me to ensure that I'm doing everything I can to have the right information if we need to repair anything. If equipment can't be repaired, to give them an honest enough answer so that we don't get called back. Because what happens is it's a waste of money for technicians to get sent out when you could have solved the problem there had you taken enough time to really diagnose the problem thoroughly, right? Take things apart, study to see where things went wrong, and that affects profitability, right? And so if you say, I'm going to guess that it's this part, which I've seen a lot, I think it's this, and you didn't take it apart. Well, when you go back and you realize, and you order the part and you get there and you do the repair and you realize, ooh, this doesn't fix it. Now I have to order something else. And this is something you should have done in the first place because you already took it apart. You should have taken it apart the first time and seen what it needs. And so those are the things that I started to look at. It's like, this affects profitability. And so so from a tech point, if you haven't been up at the manager side from a manager's perspective, from the tech point, it's just like, dude, I have all these jobs I have to get knocked out, right? And so I'm limited on the time I can do it. Like I have to do the best that I can to still be productive, but then do it fast enough to be what's the word? Efficient.
Yeah.
To be efficient.
It's like that. And I'm pretty much IT too. Cause like I don't want to spend too much time on like all these smaller tasks, and even like for my supervisor, he throws tasks that like he could do every single task he's giving me. He can do himself. Right. However, it's fucking time consuming.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, good learning experience for me. Well, like there are times where it's like, I probably done something where it's like, okay, well, I think it's this. And then like, okay, I kind of fucked up right there, cause like I could get overburdened in other positions I've been in where it's like, okay, I have all these things I got to do. I just want to hop over to the next one. And honestly, like when I was younger, that's definitely how it was, especially like since I did not want to talk to people. Like every time you go somewhere to like help someone out, you're just like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm just here to do my job. I just want to get out of here and like go about my way. And honestly, like I think that was something I had to overcome in the beginning too, because like I feel so awkward with like this person just standing right behind me, looking at every single little thing I do.
I had to deal with that quite a bit when I was a technician at Dish. Fortunately, being a technician at the physical therapy clinics, they have stuff they have to do. Yeah. Right. So they're not going to be sitting over you unless you've given them a reason to be suspicious about you, which at that point, if you've done that, then there's some things that should have been avoided from in the first place anyway. But so that when I was a technician at Dish, it was one of my pet peeves is like, okay, I don't mind. Right, it's your house. I'm in your place, and so you want to make sure I'm not going to break anything. Sure, understandable. But if you don't trust me, ask me questions. Like, hey, like, what are you doing that for? Like, hey, what is it that you're doing? Because if you're just going to stand there and stare at me, like, I would try to talk to them. Like, is there anything? Do you have any questions on anything? And it's like,
yeah, I think I was able to actually start conversations. Like, the more experience I gained, because like at that point, it's like, dude, I can do is like if I had explained to someone certain things, I can do that very easily now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, since it's so like simple for me to do, and I'm basically going through the motions at this point to do like really easy fixes, you know, I can have a conversation. I was like before though, because like I feel like I'm a slow learner, right? And I have to like really focus on things. If I'm doing something, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. Like I need like time to like think about it.
To concentrate. Yeah. So that's another thing too for me. What would be a pet peeve of mine is if I'm doing something for the first time, please don't stand over me because like I'm trying to figure this out and do it right. Because if I do it wrong and you're sitting over me the entire time, it's not going to help the situation. If I do something wrong and then you're like, oh, well, what happened with that? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm learning. And so yeah, I understand that. But the way that I have learned is because at some point it's going to happen. It's unavoidable. Somebody's going to be untrustworthy or untrusting of you, and so they're going to want to maybe they've had bad experiences, and I try to understand that. Some people have had bad experiences, like have had technicians break things, and so they are very suspicious of like they're cautious, I should say, of having people in their house. So I understood that part, but it is also difficult for me to do my job well if you're standing over me and I'm still figuring things out, because I want to make sure that I can do the job right so that I don't do the thing that you've experienced, right? I don't break things and have another tech have to send out. So like I said, the big thing that I would do, even if I was like uncomfortable by somebody standing over me, I would still try to break the ice by asking questions to them. If they aren't going to ask me anything, I'll ask them something and see if I can't get them to trust me, because the fastest way they'll leave me alone is if they trust me. Yeah. And so what I would do is I would ask them questions about, is there anything that you want to know? Is there anything I can teach you about this stuff so that you know what to look out for in the future? And then sometimes that would work. And when it did, cool, we would have a conversation. Suddenly things would start to cool down a little bit and they would just leave. Most of the time that works. Once in a while I would have a situation where they would not, no matter what I said to them, they would respond with one-word answers, like, yeah, okay. And I'm just like, Jesus, like, how am I going to, and I just have to deal with it. And so then at that point, I just kind of have to zone them out. If they don't want to talk to me and they just want to sit there, okay, but I will just do my work then. And one thing that my manager used to tell me that he would do is he said that whenever they would do that, he's like, I would just run around until they got tired. So he said, like, let's say I had to do work outside. He's like, I would just run inside and then go plug something in, go run back outside and then run back inside. And eventually they'd get tired. And I was like, that's actually pretty smart. That's a pretty smart idea. And they would just not want to follow you anymore because it's like, I'm tired or I'm sweaty. Yeah. And it's like, okay, this guy's running around way too much. I can keep up. So my manager would tell me, he's like, I used to just like run when they would stand over me. I wouldn't stay there. He's like, I would go find something else to do. And then if they followed me there, I'd go find something else to do somewhere else. I would complete the task as fast as possible and then go run around somewhere else until they got tired of following me. And I was like, that's a pretty good one.
I wonder if I can try that.
Yeah, maybe try that. But I always do try first to have conversations with them. I always try to break the ice. It is kind of a challenge for me to be like, I wonder if I can't get them to open up. Like that was always a thing for me. It's like, I wonder if I can't get them to trust me. And so I would ask them questions, and sometimes it would work. And when it didn't, I would just kind of do my own work then, and I would kind of ignore them. I wouldn't run around. I would feel that would be mean. I would just do my work as I intended it.
I just feel like if I were to run around, I would need to make it seem like I actually did something when I
That's
did
right.
From,
That's right.
From point A to point B.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, right, but like where I'm at now, since like I'm face to face with customers like all the time, and I'm like at a place where I've been for a while now, is like I actually start to like build relationships with them, right? And even before, like when I first meet like a new customer for the first time, my boss made a point for me to know who like, okay, yeah, this person's this, you know, just so you know, he's like, he or she is the manager, like he or she is like the son, the granddaughter, you know, like these are the people that are in charge of like XYZ, you know, so like, you know, make sure you put on like
a good face.
Yeah. You know?
Sure.
In the beginning, I definitely didn't do that. Like when I was like at a level 1 tech working at the school district, because I was kind of like, okay, again, just focus on the task at hand. You know, I'm still new. I still got a lot to learn here.
Yeah.
You know, just give me my space.
Right.
And there's like 30 kids watching me do everything I do too. So
that's fun.
And like what's funny is like when you're in school, you know, every time a new person walks in a classroom, I'm not sure if you remember this at all, but like I remember like that's all I could focus on. Like he's just giving like a lesson.
They're doing something.
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah, what are they doing? Yeah, and that's the curiosity that kids naturally have, and so sometimes they might even ask you questions like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, what is that?" Yeah, right. And so then you'd have to deal with that. So then, how did you manage it?
Dude, I just always have my headphones in at that point, so I can drown them out.
You just ignore them. So then that your boss told you not to do that, though, right?
Oh, well, that was when I was working at a school district. I would do that. But like when I got here, I felt by that point I was pretty comfortable being around people because I'd already been in the industry for like 2 years at that point.
Right.
So I was like pretty much comfortable to that concept. It definitely took a while in the beginning because I not that I was like shy, but it was just like I couldn't even describe it. It's like I don't know this person, and I've always had the concept where it's like if I don't know this person, I probably won't get to know them for reasons X, Y, Z. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to get to know them.
Do you consider yourself socially awkward?
I don't know if that's the right word for me because it's funny because yesterday I was at a store and I was like doing something with my daughter, and you know my daughter was like, Dad, you got to stop what you're doing. I was like, well why? And he's like, because that person's laughing at you. I was like, are you sure? And I was like, what up?
No, you know, I know. Here's my perspective is just that you are very nonchalant. And so some people, for a lot of people, not being nonchalant is okay at outings, right? Like if we're hanging out with people and, you know, it's just an open environment. So where some people feel like maybe it's not the best way to handle things is in business settings, right? Where it's about professionalism and being a little bit more serious. But I see you more as like you're just very nonchalant. I don't think I've ever seen you like angry. I think I said this to you last time. I don't know.
What's funny is like me and my sister, we have this joke with my brother, right? And he was like, be careful, his temper's gonna get about my brother, and it's crazy because my brother's actually more lax than I am.
Really?
If anything, like
there's another level to this. Okay.
If anything, within my immediate family, someone would probably say I have like I'm the temperament one.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like because like I guess it varies because like when you're dealing with your family members, you see them every single day, and the things they do, you know, affect you in certain ways, regardless if they think so or not, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, someone who's external to me, like, not a family member, like, I've probably seen you in passing every so often. I don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get too involved in that aspect. Like, so, like, if you're, like, let's say I have a friend, right? He was involved in, you know, the game, you know, of like, dealing and whatnot. And I was like, you know, I think it'd be better for you to get out of there, but it's like your life, you can live it. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not implicated in anything, you know, I'm not involved in that life, but I'll hang out with you, you know, if you don't bring that around me, you know, but if it starts to, then I'll probably freak the fuck out on you.
So your pet peeve is being forced to interact with people that you don't know? Is that your pet peeve?
I wouldn't say it's like a pet peeve, but it's like if I'm forced to interact with someone, I'll treat them with kindness and courtesy. But it's like, in that sense, I'll let more things go because I'm talking to you for like 5 minutes. I'm not gonna ruin my day because I disagree with you in one matter because you're doing something I dislike. Yeah. I'd rather just let you be yourself. I'm not gonna see you after this. I'll go about my day. But like with my family members, you know, it's a little different. Like my niece and nephews, for my nephew in my household, I'm definitely the what's the word? The I don't want to say lawful because that sounds kind of weird, but like if I was like, I guess I'll say the mean one because that's the way I saw it with my mom and dad's. Like my mom's the mean one, my dad's the fun one, you know.
Okay.
But like for my nephew, because like I see how he interacts with my sister for many years.
Yeah.
When I saw he didn't like something, like I'd go off on him because it's like, yo, like, well, at one point it was like my sister's birthday, right? You know, and instead of like my nephew being like happy, like saying like, oh, I love you, mom, like he like turned her off, went to his room to continue playing games. I was like, yo, I don't fucking like that. You know? Okay. So I was like, yo, you better get your fucking ass out there. Dude. Yeah. I'll fucking take this thing and throw it on the goddamn floor. Like,
okay. So there you go. So you do have, so there are things, what makes you, what do you think are the things that make you tick? Like your number one, let's say your top five, like, pet peeves.
I would say repeating myself, you know,
okay.
is definitely one. Another one, is that if I say no to something, then it's like the first time.
Yeah. Yes. I 100% back that. Yeah. Okay.
Because like, especially like, and I control it a lot more when I'm like in social situations. Cause it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to ruin this party or something.
I'm not going to snap on this person over this. Yeah.
It's happened like when I had relationships, I go to like their family outings and like, they're asking me like, yeah, do you want to eat this? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm good. Yeah. And they keep asking me. I'm like, yo, I already.
You're like, I'll flip out right now, dude.
You know, and like, I definitely like, I definitely have to say no or like some like on smaller things, but it's like, yo, I mean, I know what I want. I know what I don't want. Like,
right.
If I say no to something the first time, I don't need to be forced anymore. Especially because like at that point, if I see that they won't stop, then I'll like, fuck it. Okay. I'll have a piece of it, whatever.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, yo, like just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. So now, so at that point, you're angry or at least aggravated by that. And for me too, like and this is a problem in a lot of Mexican families too, mine specifically, I've seen this where it's like, I am not hungry. And so then it's like, it's insulting. Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like I'm like trying not to be insulted by not eating your food right now.
And like, so it's like, if unless you want to see me vomit all over this plate, which will be more insulting than if I say, hey, I'm not hungry, right? Either accept that or I'm throwing up all over this plate. And then you're gonna have to clean it up yourself because I told you that was gonna happen. Like I told you no, right? And so like that's unfortunately a thing that a lot of families do, and I hope that gets respected better as we go on, because it sucks when you get embarrassed. Basically, like you saying that you're not hungry is somehow insulting.
Yeah, it's like
to somebody else.
I'm not about it.
Like
right
how can that be insulting to you? Like I didn't. If I would have tasted your food and I spat it out, all right. Like I insulted your food. But
I wouldn't say insult. I was just like, sorry, I just didn't like it.
But like I'm saying, like if you like ate it and like spat it out like garbage, right?
Dude, I've actually have done that. Like, where it's like, I really did not like this. Like and I would say. And like, I'd say like straight up, like not in like a serious face, but I'd be like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I really did not like that.
That was awful. No, look, you're that's because you're just very transparent. I think that you don't say it mean spirited, and so like the nice thing, that's the niceness in me that like, oh, I want to be nice, right? Where it's like, even if I don't like it, like I'll eat it begrudgingly, and then I'll not finish it, right? Like. That's what I'll do.
So, like, in that regard, I do feel like it's not that it's not nice. I feel like it's not nice of you to let them know that you're not about this. Because then, like, you're feeding into someone's, like, thought of, like, who you are, which isn't true, you know? and then they're stuck in a way of like thinking like, okay, this is okay, and so here's like another one that
I agree.
I tend to do that people are shocked about is like, I'm like, don't get me gifts, and they're like, well, okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then when I get their gift, I tell them straight out, like, I didn't really like it. I'm sorry, like I just don't like it.
No, look, I agree with you. I think that's just a thing that I don't know. It's a programming. Like, for me, like I just think like, okay, even if I don't like it, like at least be appreciative of the gift and say, hey, thank you.
I make the distinction. I tell them like, I appreciate the gift, but I really don't like this because of I just don't like.
Yeah,
I don't like. Let's say I got a Pinko toy.
Yeah,
you know, like those little box ones with the weird face. You know, like. Okay, thank you, but I don't like these. You know, I think it's not a good gift for me. You know.
Yeah. So what happened? Now I'm curious. Okay, so let me ask you because I do think if I don't like something, if somebody asks me if I like it or if I don't, then I do feel like, okay, you're asking me what I think of it. Do you just say it when they give it to you? Like, I don't
honestly,
like this?
Yeah. there's been like a lot of I don't, and my family knows this about me, and it's like not, they don't take it like to heart in regard, but it's like during Christmas when we do like Secret Santa stuff like that, it's like, okay, let's see what he says about this.
Yeah. Oh, I see. That's more fun. Where it's like it's not personal. It's like, hey, let's see if we can't get something he likes.
Well, I don't know if that's like their goal now.
that would be fun though. That would be.
I feel like I gotta tell them because now you're like, I feel bad because you wasted this money thinking I like something like this. But next time, if you ever do get me a gift, you know, and I would like if people tell me the same thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that
I was gonna ask you that next.
Yeah, no, like I definitely. But if I give someone a bad gift, I would prefer they let me know because then I'm probably gonna get them something similar next time, right? And that thing never gets used, and that's just creating waste.
You know, you're right, and the problem is that it feels wrong. But
I know, right?
It feels wrong, but I don't disagree with you. Like it just feels wrong. I don't know. It's like I said, it's just the programming that I just have is that like if somebody gives you a gift, even if you don't say you don't like it, if they ask you, right, like, hey, did you like it? Okay, then maybe I'll be like, yeah, you know, it's not my thing. You know, like I don't really use this, but you know, I'm sure. See, even now, like my inner part, like there's an inner part of me that goes like, well, you can find a use for it. Like that's the inner part of me that's like, well, no, you can find a use for it.
But
yeah, right. And so like, because I don't want to be mean, but it's not mean to be honest if somebody asks you, right? Yeah. And even if they didn't ask you, like it's who you are. Like you're just transparent about things. Like you don't have a filter of like of be nice. And so I think that it's better to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable at first.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I heard this in a song the other day where it's like, I wish someone would have told me life was unkind before I saw it with my own eyes, right? And I'm not that like that was an unkind thing to do, but it's like, wouldn't you rather know than, you know, live in, you know, like in the state of unknown and then you're thinking you're doing the right thing?
It is kind of like a fantasy like that you keep in your head. And so like, you feed that fantasy when you say things to be nice rather than be honest and be like, because if people really care about you, they're gonna stick around. Like if they give you a bad gift and you say, hey, like I don't really like these, like what I feel like it's a better relationship anyway. It's a better friendship when you have a friend. You're like, I can be completely honest with you, and you'll accept what it is that parts of my personality, and if you don't, you'll tell me, hey, I don't really like this. And if you don't want to change that, if you feel like it's not a problem, then you can go your separate ways. It's just easier that way, I think, to be able to
I think it's easier for both parties. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not racking my brain about what this person likes or dislikes now.
No, I think you're
Although,
right.
like with my daughter, I'm still yet to experience that.
What is that like? Are you you're not like that with your daughter?
I feel like a lot of things that I views that I hold with other people, I'll let my daughter get away with a little bit.
Ooh, okay. So you don't want to see her sad.
You know, and it's like it varies. So like the like yesterday too, I was like, yo, is my daughter a bully at school?
How'd you get that impression?
Because my daughter was telling me about like, yeah, this girl Penelope, she's not very nice to me. And I was like, really? Like, well, what was she doing? And she's like, and then she's like, she can never explain what the fuck it is, right? Until like she mentioned some other kid. I was like, okay, there's 2 kids now? I was like, okay, well, what's going on? I was like, well, I Penelope did this, and I forgot exactly what she said she did. But, I told this other kid to call her a baby. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's not good. That's not good. But even if, like, it was a joke, kind of, you really shouldn't be doing that to people. Because, like, if you start saying mean things about people, they're going to get angry, upset. And then you don't like it when people are upset, like, saying mean things about you, right? Like, and I was like, remember when I was joking with you about, like, how you're a baby before, and then you're like, I'm not a baby, I'm a big girl now.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I hope that every time those instances come, the explanation gets to her head.
Yeah.
In those matters.
I think that's a pretty good approach of like, hey, explaining the other side.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, this is what they would feel. Like, would you like it if that's how you felt? So then, what part do you think is, and we'll kind of wrap things up here in a few minutes. What do you think the challenge is then for you? Because you said that you're still working on it with your daughter. What is it that you're still working on? What part?
And there's always everything I'm working on with her.
Of course. But what I mean specifically too is that you said that you're very transparent, like with your family members, except with your daughter.
Yeah. So like, one thing I do with my daughter is I show her a lot of affection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I give her a lot of hugs and kisses and stuff like that. I carry her around and I play with her a lot. Whereas like from my nephew, I tend to teach him in a very different light. And I don't know if it's because he's a boy. Maybe that could be it, too.
Yeah. And
it's like, let's say if the same instances were applied, I felt like I would be a little more meaner to him. like more abrupt,
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from?
I do think a good portion of it is the gender, to a degree. But
is that how you were treated?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my parents were pretty straightforward in that matter, especially my mom. Now since I was the youngest, I was kind of always trying to hang out with the older kids in my family, 'cause the one following me is like 2 years older, and then it goes up from there, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yep.
So as a kid, I had to grow up with like older kids, and I'd probably be the annoying one at that point,
Yeah.
And so like they'd be very straight up, like if I was annoying the shit out of them,
right?
Something like that.
Okay. So then you just experienced a little bit more tough love, how people say, right? Like just there wasn't as much affection towards you as a kid.
No, I still had a lot of affection. It's just like I was like I wouldn't say rambunctious, but like I definitely would tiptoe on the line of being annoying.
Okay. So that's where it comes from. So then.
But like in that instance with my daughter though, it's like I do feel like before I initiate anything with her, I have to think about like, okay, what should my reaction be? Should I come about this in like a very mean, demeaning way, or should I come at this as like, you live your best life?
You're a little bit more lenient.
So like with my nephew, when he does bad things, it's more reactive parenting, whereas like for my daughter, it's like
proactive.
I wouldn't say proactive. It's like more like I'm taking time to think about what I'm going to do next.
Because is it because you're worried that you're going to hurt her feelings?
I don't know if it's like that, but I do worry about what I say and how she'll take it next. And I don't know if I do that more so because like if she dislikes me, she's probably just going to want to hang out with her mom, and me and her mom aren't together. Will she like be like, oh, I don't want to go dance anymore?
That makes more sense. So you're afraid that she's going to push you away if you say something.
I think it's,
in time.
I think to a degree, yeah.
In time, right? Not from that one thing, but over
not from
time.
that one thing, but over time, definitely. But also, like, I just want to make sure she understands what's going on, because like eventually she's gonna be socializing with other kids. They're not gonna give her the benefit of a doubt or like slow down or talk to her. And when I see her engage with other children, there are some things I like, some things I do like, some things I dislike. One that gives me mixed feelings, like she always tries to help the person next to her, every fucking moment she gets. And I'm just like, bro, like, focus on what you're doing right now.
What do you? Why does that bother you?
Well, it bothers me because I feel like to a degree it gets a bit socially unacceptable, you know, because like, for example, like she's in gymnastics, right? A new kid joined the class, you know, so I guess she felt like it was her job to like show her around and stuff like that, you know. So, but she wouldn't get off of her. Like she was always like, yeah, come with me, like I'll show you. So like always trying to hold her hand and stuff like that, you know. And although I think that stems from her wanting a sister because she always asked for her sister. You know?
Yeah,
so,
that might make sense.
So yeah, I'm just like, no, just focus on yourself. You know, keep your hands to yourself. You know, and it was definitely like that more so in the beginning, where like she just always wanted to be friends with the person next to her, and I had to like always tell her like, okay, well they're there to dance or they're there to do this. You have to focus. You have to let them do what they need to do, because like their mommies and daddies aren't going to be happy, and you're not supposed to be trying to hold other people's hands all the time. You're not supposed to try to do X, Y, Z. And I do feel like I have a bit of a part to that because, like I said, I show my daughter a lot of affection. You know, like I'm always hugging her, always kissing her on the cheek and stuff like that. So I'll take the blame on that.
There are I you know, do you think that maybe do you think that maybe you're being too strict with that? Or do you feel like you're...
No, because like I don't think I'm doing too strict on that portion, just because like, yeah, it was a problem in the beginning.
What do you think was a problem with that? Was she like getting in trouble and stuff? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. Just because like, again, like when you take kids to like these activities that they have to do, I feel for the teacher because the teacher's trying to get everyone to go to the class.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
You know, and because I was a swim instructor too. You know, I worked at a camp too, and you know, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club. You know, when you have a disruptive kid, you know, it's a bitch because like you're just like, I can't really say anything to this fucker because like the parents are fucking there.
Yeah, and so well, that's another thing too, where it's like a self-control thing too, where you have to kind of be like, okay, I don't have control over this situation, so what can I do where like my kid isn't going to suffer, or like I can remove my kid without, you know, causing any issues with the other kids or the parents.
Yeah, and like the things they do like can build onto other things, you know. And I read that like when they're too handsy with other kids, you know, then
well, you're a dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're with your daughter, you're gonna worry about being too handsy, and so I understand that. And so I mean, you'll learn in time, because the thing is, she'll tell you, I'm sure at some point, she'll get old enough and start to communicate whether it's like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And so then you'll have to face the challenge of, okay, do I back away or do I push harder?
That's like a challenge all the time, you know, because like in soccer, she's in soccer too. And then like, I always have to like tell her, no, you go for that fucking ball.
Yeah.
You know, because like she's like, but I want all the other kids to have a turn too. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you fucking take this fucking kid, dude. Or like, well, one thing I thought was pretty cool that she did that I wish I would have got on video was like, I was working on my garden outside, and my nephew and her were playing, and I guess my nephew fell off of his like bike or something like that. And it was pretty cool because I didn't notice it initially, but like I see her jetting from the house with the medicine, right? Like we had a box, you know, for like the first aid and everything. And I'm like looking because I hear a sound, right? And I just see her sprinting to my nephew with the medicine box in hand, like she's gonna fucking like do first aid care type shit. I was like, damn, that's pretty damn fast and cool.
So do you think, and we'll end it with these last few questions. Do you think that that's just her nature, that she just wants to help people?
I think so. And like, again, like I like it, but sometimes it does get to me at times because like, yo, we gotta go. Like, you know, we got things to do,
right?
Or like we don't know that person, like, and it's not like that's bad necessarily.
You're afraid she's gonna get hurt too, right? Because like,
yeah, like, and it's also like unnecessary at times too, because it's like let's say she sees someone like from where I'm at to like where that TV is, and they're gonna come outside the door. I'm like, we don't gotta hold the door, like they're all the way over there, you know. But like at every single instance she sees like she can possibly help someone, she'll do it, and it's like. It's not necessary for us to do something, and it's not like, and it'd be different if the scenario was like, okay, this person's choking on something.
There are boundaries, and I do think that it's important to set the boundaries of like, you got, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people, so take care of what you need first, and then if there's time and you can do it, and so that's maybe something she'll have to learn her challenge for her, right?
Yeah.
Because she wants to help people. I think that it seems like that's just her nature. So she's going to want to do it. And so it's like, how do you do it in a way that is also respectful to yourself? Because you do have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, and you do see like some kids where like, as when they get older, they become like, not that necessarily being a follower is the worst thing in the world, but like,
no,
but they get taken advantage of to
sure,
a degree because they're always willing to fucking help.
Yes, and being naive,
yeah.
and of course, right. And so that's something she'll have to learn, and that'll be the challenge I think for her growing up is to learn when it's okay and when it's not like it's not going to help the other person, and it's also not going to help you. And so it might seem like it will, but if that person is taking advantage of you, it's a behavior that's being allowed to continue, and then for you get taken advantage of. So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah. So everything they do, you always gotta like look into it. Like,
I understand.
What can this lead into?
Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying.
Set the boundary. Limit. Maybe talk. Make sure they understand what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, why it could be good, why it could be bad. Like, there's a gray area maybe here.
That's right. That's good. And so, last question for you. So what is it that you're seeking to do in like the next year? What are your goals in the near future?
Goals? I don't know. I mean,
let's start with work.
Work? I mean, I like to I like to get my cloud cert. That's definitely one.
Right.
But in terms of like, because I guess I don't know where I'm going to go from work from here, just because like I'm content with where I'm at now, right?
Yes.
And if I want to expand more into like the cloud, I'm probably going to have to leave, right? But it depends on like what happens at work. Like maybe there's new clients we get that may pique my interest because we're maybe doing certain things, or like maybe I leave. Like so that one's kind of unsure if I want to pursue the cloud or go more into security route. I might need to leave. So it really depends on like what I learned within that time frame.
Okay. So then it's that's one of those things that you're just kind of going with the flow at this point. Okay.
Yeah. So
fair enough. And for your daughter, what are some goals that you have for her?
Well, I wouldn't say like they're goals, but some things I like to see her do.
Yeah.
So like last year she had stage fright when she had to perform her ballet recital. I'd like to get her back into that and see her actually perform,
Right.
So, but in that regard, I would like her to be able to skate a little bit better. It's like, I mean, I sound very big, but it's like, there are things like I'm working with her on, and I like her to be able to do some of these things, So like skating is one that me and her, we go to the roller rink every so often, and like I'll take her out to like the park and I'll have her like try on her skates and see if she can finally do a little bit more, But in terms of like, I don't know, like I feel like she's on a good path so far, and it's just like I like feeding into whatever interest she has.
Yeah, and so like, and obviously, it's kind of cool because this is your first child, right? And so
might be my only, but
well, okay, but so let's say for example she's your only child, she's still your first child, and so with that you get to kind of explore. This is a whole new human that like you have a part in like creating like their path, right? And so you might not build their path as an adult, but as a child, what they learn, what they go to is something that you have a say over. And so like you kind of get to push to see what is this human capable of. And so you kind of like move things around and you go, well, maybe can she do this? And can she do that? Is this something she likes? Does she like this? And so you're basically learning, and she's learning what she likes and what she doesn't like. And so then you get to kind of explore this whole new human being that is also learning about themselves. So it's this like whole adventure kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And in regards to that, like the learning part is like, I may not always be on time to like get her into certain things, but like she'll kind of like gravitate toward things, right? So like her uncle does like tattoos, right? And then I saw she was like drawing herself for a while. I was like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that because she's using like pens and like markers that are probably bad for the skin. So I bought her like the stencils to draw, like to shape out like the different stuff that are on the skin, and then I got her like legit markers to do it.
Okay.
And so like anytime I see her kind of have an interest in certain things, I just kind of either purchase whatever needs to be done and I'll try it out with her, things
Awesome.
like that,
Yeah.
So like,
I'm glad that you do that. Yeah, that'll be good for her. And I'm sure she'll have a lot of good memories from that. But we are out of time and I know you have places to go. So I really appreciate you coming back on. I hope that I could have you on at least once more before the end of the year. But obviously,
for any specific reason, or is that like?
But I'd just like to check in. I do the 1 year. I'd like to check in with people once a year at least. But I was talking with my buddy who produces the show. I talked to him about it. He's like, maybe we could probably do sooner than a year, because a lot of things can happen in even a few months. And so, if it's something that you would have time to do, and you want to come back on, I would love to have you back on sooner than a year, but at least once a year.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you guys at least once a year. So that's the goal. But either way, I know we'll have you on again, and I appreciate you making time.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's fun.